Today we're turning Pyttipanna Michelin. Start by cutting your onions really thin. We're gonna caramelize these and mix with cheese to make some cheesy caramelized onion cubes. Throw some butter in the pan, then add your onions, some sugar and some water. Then put a lid on top and let those cook for about 30 to 60 minutes. After that, remove the lid and crank up the heat. We want to get some color on these so that they get caramelized, not only soft and sweet.
Gorgeous.
Once those are done, we'll grate some cheese. For this I'm using cheddar. We'll then mix our cheese with our onions and put that in a container so that we can cut a cube shape later on. This can get a little messy, but you gotta trust the process. When you've packed the container, transfer it to a freezer overnight so it can firm up. Now we're also gonna pickle some chilies. Cut the chilies in not too thin, not too thick slices. In a saucepan, mix sugar, vinegar and some water. Bring that to a boil until the sugar has dissolved. Throw the chilies in a container and then top up with the pickle brine. Store that in the fridge overnight. We're also making some garlic chive mayo as a topping. So chop the chives up and the garlic. In a tall container, a little larger than your hand mixer, add an egg, some sherry vinegar and some salt. And finally your chives and garlic. Mix in while incorporating a neutral oil. You want to make this thick enough to keep its shape when plated. Look at that.
Gorgeous.
With my limited equipment, this was my best way to get the mayo into the bottle. Everything prior to this was day 1, and now we're moving to day 2, the day of the dish. We're starting off with making some confit egg yolks. For this, add the yolks in an oven-proof dish, then cover them with oil. Then put them in the oven at 85 degrees Celsius for 1 hour and 10 minutes. While that's in the oven, we can start working on our beetroot and Jerusalem artichoke puree. Start with chopping both roughly, then add them to an oven-proof pan. Add some salt and pepper, and we'll roast this just a little later. Now we're gonna start cutting some potatoes. I'm using 2 Asterix potatoes. They are red, smooth, buttery potatoes, but if you can't find these, choose a potato with lower starch. We want to cut this into roughly 3 cm cubes. And that's the size we try to stick around for the rest of our cubes as well. Then clean the cutting board because we're gonna cut the rest of our cubes as well. Now, I had to pry the onion blend out of the container, so you're better off using some parchment paper in between. We want to cut this up into similar cubes, and of course we're not throwing anything away. It's just that the plate using the other parts won't look nearly as nice. Got some extra cubes out of these, so we put those back in the freezer. I mistakenly chose the bad looking cubes, but you'll see that turned out nice nonetheless. And now it's time to cut the beef into cubes as well. We've got our reference cube there in the corner. For this, I've dry aged my own beef, so I'm using a dry aged ribeye for this. But any cut that works as a steak would work great for this. Or even some slow cooked beef, as long as they remain as cubes. Here, I'm just trying out the plating idea, to see how it would look, since this is actually my first time making this. Now, you want to fry the potatoes on all sides. Make sure they have good color all over, because this is the only step they will get a crust from. When they are done, transfer them to an oven-proof dish. Now transfer the root vegetables to the oven. They should roast at 200 degrees Celsius for about 40 minutes. Now it's time to add some butter, broth and water, along with some salt and pepper to the potatoes. They're also going in the oven at the same temp as the root vegetables, but only for 30 minutes. They should be flipped halfway through. While that's in the oven, we can start frying our onion and cheese cubes. Since these contain cheese, these are pretty easy to burn and can fall apart easily, so try to handle them with some care. But the idea here is to get some good color on all sides, so that this can act as a crunch in our dish. Now it should be time to remove those egg yolks, and if you don't have 2 ovens like we do, you can cook the egg yolks the day before, or even a couple of hours earlier. We also of course need to fry our steak, and I'm using avocado oil here, because it has a high smoke point. I'm also only cooking these on 4 sides, to keep it a little more rare on the inside. If you don't like that, you can cook it on all 6 sides. By only cooking 4 sides, it will also look rather pretty on the plate when you'll be able to show that pink inside even before it gets cut into. Now remove those from the pan and let them rest until we finish the rest of our preparations. Now it should be time to remove both the root vegetables and the potatoes. The last thing we need to do now is to mix our puree. We're mixing the roasted vegetables with some creme fraiche, and you can also add a splash of water if it gets too thick. We're actually not mixing this until fully smooth, because the roasted beetroot bits are quite enjoyable as a texture and works well with the dish. For the plating, we're putting our puree in the bottom, of course. Then the idea is to build a chessboard on top. So we're starting with the potatoes in a diagonal line, then adding the caramelized onion and cheese cubes. After that, we will fill in the rest of the spots with our meat, choosing to put the non-fried side upwards to showcase that perfect inside. The recipe for this will be in the description. We're topping the meat with the pickled chilies, 2 pieces on 2 of them and 1 on 2 of them, to add some variety to the plating. We're then adding our garlic chive mayo on the remaining of the cubes. This mayo is just so delicious you could cover the whole dish with it, but for appearances we stick to this. Then we're topping the mayo with some parsley for even more color. And finally, we place the egg yolk in the middle. This will probably become a series, so please like and subscribe if you want to see more of these types of videos.